Hey guys, so I've been wanting to do something like this for a while now. Uh, I know you guys don't. I know I don't really do stuff like this. I usually post this type of stuff in a text, but this is something that I feel like is relevant to our society today in general, and is something that requires a little more than just a long-winded rant post. So so for those of you who don't know, I am a security guard with Champion National Security. Now, that being said, I do work various sites around, the area in which I live in. One of those sites is a graveyard. And more specifically, it is at Jefferson Barracks, although I do not technically work for the graveyard, I work for the hospital. Either way. Okay, as a part of that, I do occasionally, you know, have the privilege to witness some of our brave soldiers who have uh, who have perished on the battlefield be laid to rest, albeit from afar. But I still respect each and every one of the lives that are buried here and all across our nation and elsewhere. However, that's not what I wanted to talk to you all about. So before I got clocked into my shift or whatever today, I noticed that there was a burial ceremony being, I guess, conducted, if you will, at one point, and it was I do not know who the soldier was. I never met any of the family members. As best I could guess, it was an African American soldier, being laid to rest. I don't know. Again, that's all I know. Um, but that being said, as somebody who is a security officer and who does work very much with the police and the community in general, this is something that has affected me not only in my professional life but my life outside of my work. Um, and that is the whole issue of police brutality and racism. I will say before I continue, I do not consider myself to be, you know, a if you will, a police officer or anything like that. I would never want to be. I would never want to be a soldier. I would never want to be somebody, anything like that. However, that being said, I'm not speaking on this as anything more than, a soul who's just trying to make sense of a crazy time and a crazy period in the history of not only our nation but the world. This is the only reason why I am doing this. But anyway, so I have had instances where, I'm just getting off work or whatever, and I'm going to, say maybe it's a gas station or, going into a Walmart after work, just trying to, make my way home, if you will. And I have had, people come up to me confusing me for a police officer, which again I am not, and wanting to claim that I am being a racist and what have you, when all I am trying to do is just go home, you know. And that being said, I do really understand the plight of, all people who are being discriminated against, whether that be, racially, spiritually, or otherwise. Now, as somebody who is considered to be a Christian by most people, even though I do not myself consider myself a Christian, I do believe that we are to love everybody, as God has loved us. Now, That being said, I do believe it's just as important to love our enemies as we love our friends and our family. And as that being said, I do not tolerate people who are given a position of power and decide to overstep those bounds. I believe that every single person in any government, whether it be our own or otherwise, has, I would argue, a higher moral responsibility than even everyday citizens. These are people who are supposed to be leading us in times of turmoil, in times of disrespect, in times, of uncertainty. And when those people who, especially in a country like the United States, are taking that power that they have been granted as a privilege by the people, that and they overstep that privilege and hardly ever get, reprimanded or prosecuted or whatever you want to call it. That is inexcusable. Now, that being said, I do also believe that, as a citizen of the United States, just a citizen as a world, we do have the obligation to follow laws just as much as, anybody else. And this is where my issue comes in. And this is where a lot of confusion with the whole, police brutality does come in as well. I've heard of many stories of, police officers, whether they be white or black, taking an innocent, civilian's life when there was no need to do so. Now, that being said, yes, there are people in this world who have committed, heinous acts. And I'm not one to say that, I will never be one to say that, no, these people are these, misunderstood folks and, all this crap. Because, yes, some of them may have been misunderstood. However, that being said, the law is the law. That goes not only for, everyday citizens, but the police officers that, are hired to guard and protect our security. Even as a, security officer, I have to follow the law. There's as the Bible said, as Jesus once said, give Caesar what he is owed, and that he will, and because the Lord will provide you with whatever else you need. Now, yes, I understand this quote is from a biblical story about money, but that being said, it can also extend to other areas of our life as well. That it does include, the letter of the law and being a good citizen of any nation, country, what have you. And we do have, a right as citizens of the world to uphold that, even to, to the highest honor. Now, that being said, I'm not saying no, don't go against your whatever, your belief system says. I would never ask anybody to do so. I would never ask anybody to try to follow what I believe either. However, I do believe that, despite what people want to say, we are all one people. And I honestly believe this. We are all one people, one race. And that is the human race. I even show this in my everyday life. I will go up to, my, friends and even strangers, and I will literally say, hello, human. Not because I'm trying to be indignant. I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that. The reason why I say that is because, again, we may live as though we are divided nations, if you will, or divided races, or divided, whatever. But at the end of the day, we all share one thing in common, no matter if you're Muslim, if you're Christian, if you're black, if you're white, if you're Chinese, or Asian, no matter where you come from in in the world, or what creed you are, or what you have had happen in your past, or whatever your ailment or struggle is. We are all part of one world. We have a little place called planet Earth. And I'm not saying no, it's gonna be perfect, eventually or everything. I'm not saying no, we're gonna have world peace eventually. Because I don't know if we ever will, but I do have faith that we can make greater strides towards that goal than we are now. Not just as the United States, or as, a leadership, but also as citizens in our everyday lives. That being said, again, I don't care if you are white. I don't care if you are black. I don't care if you believe in Islam, Muslim, Christian, whatever, that doesn't matter to me, and it shouldn't matter to anybody else. If you know who you are, and you know what you believe in, then by God, you have the right to believe that. You have the right to be who you are. And you never should let anybody compromise on that. However, that being said, you should not let yourself be, so open to other people's opinions, to the point, if they are opinions that do not strive towards these goals that you believe in, then I'm sorry, you shouldn't do it. Now, that being said, I do believe that the spirit of compromise lives within every one of us. It has lived throughout history, throughout all the decades of war, and turmoil, peace, and even in peace times. For millennia, I believe humans have always strived to seek greater purpose. And that is what this is what I still believe we are trying to do. But in that greater purpose, we have allowed ourselves to believe that one human is better than the other, which is not the case. Now, yes, some of us may have more wealth than others. Others may have more power. Others may have this or that of our opponent. That being said, that should not make you that does not make you better than your neighbor. That does not make you better than your boss. That doesn't make you less of a person for being, who you are. I believe that, and I will tell people this till I am dead. I kid people not. I have said this multiple times throughout my life. We, in God's eyes, or or whatever deity, you wish to follow, or philosophy you wish to follow, we are all one and the same. We are all equal in the eyes of a higher power. Now, that being said, yes, some of us have had more privileges on this plane of existence than others. Some of us have abused that power. Others are struggling just to keep in line with our morals. I'm not saying the world is a peachy place or anything like that. I'm not saying it's any one nation is greater to live in than the other. Because it's not. Everybody, every person, every government, every country, everything has flaws. Everything has good qualities as well. But unfortunately, it is in our human nature to look at these bad instances of where one person of a certain creed, or maybe authority, or job, or what have you, does a bad thing. And those bad things should be punished, by all means. However, those actions taken by a few should not be the representation of the many. And this is where I have my issue. I do my best on my job to follow the law of the land, aka the Constitution. I do my best to uphold the honor of myself, God, and all those around me, even those people who I have to take care of, if you will, in who are breaking the law. I honestly do believe that as somebody who has a position of power to detain somebody even at times, or even God forbid, take somebody's life, it should not be but for the most dire of needs. Now, unfortunately, the hierarchy of needs does not necessarily mean that one person's going to survive, okay? I've seen where officers, whether they be police officers or otherwise, they risk their own lives to protect other people's. And I think that's one of the most noblest things you can do. However, you also have a very big responsibility with that power as well. You have a responsibility that you must, be diligent, and you must know that the greatest power that anyone can have is to not exert authority. And unfortunately, people misuse their power that they're given as a privilege. And I mean this, it is a privilege to be in power, no matter who you are, no matter where you live in the world. If you are in a position of power, you have a higher, you are held to you should be held to be a higher accountability than even, the lowest life of, the criminal system. I hate to say that. I don't mean to say that because, no, I don't believe, politicians are just as bad, or like these police officers that, have abused their power are just as bad as, somebody who commits a serial killing or other heinous crimes as such. But I am saying that they do have a higher accountability and should be held to a higher accountability of standards than anybody else in our society. And I think this is where the issue comes, is those who have abused their authority are not being punished and not being held accountable like they should. No, they're not. I will be one of the first to say, I love this country. I love the United States of America. I was not born here, no. But by God, I believe that any country you live in, if you are a citizen of that country, and if you feel like that is where your place is, then that is where you should be. And I do believe, honestly, that God, bless, I honestly will be the first to say, God bless America. But not more so than that, God bless the world. No matter where you are, no matter where you live, what your financial circumstances, no matter what your religion, creed, race, anything like that, God bless you. Because I believe that we hate too much in this world. And it is this hatred between our simple differences, whether they be political or otherwise, that has caused our world to be in this chaos and turmoil. And I know, and I have talked to people of different religions, creeds, races, and I always notice that even among the differences, there are similarities. We all are taught to try to love each other, or, like God would. Now, yes, it is stated differently in different religions, sects, whatever, but at the end of the day, the principle remains the same. We are all one people. We are all one race. We are all one world. It's time to start acting like it. The young officer, the young soldier that was laid to rest when I was here earlier, I believe he or she, whoever they may be, they did this because they believed that we have a responsibility not only to our own country but to countries elsewhere to foster foster relationships of peace and love, not of hatred and war. I believe those people are the most honorable because they are willing to die for a belief in a system that, albeit flawed, is only trying to succeed with the most honorable of intentions. And I believe that a lot of these people, they don't get the recognition they deserve. So, to end this video, this is a shout out. This is not only a shout out or a call out, whatever you want to say. This is a plea to the leadership of not only our own nation, the United States, but the nations of the world, whether they be united in one, unity or not. This is a plea to start looking at each other not with hatred, not with contempt, not with the vision of seeking power, but with love and respect. Not only for each other's countries and their leadership, but for those who fight on the front lines, domestically and abroad, on both sides. Stop this. Seek peaceful options. I implore you. And as citizens of the world in general, I pray that we learn to foster and help support our leadership in the ways of peace and love and friendship amongst men and goodwill towards everyone. Not just during one time of the year, but all times of the year. And I pray that the world comes to an understanding of love and peace. But also understanding that, yes, we are going to have our differences. Yes, we are going to have our quarrels, if you will. But at the end of the day, we should not be seeking enemies in these disagreements. But we should be seeking friendship and compromise. And that is all I ever wish for. I think that's all we ever wish for. Nobody is born innocent. I believe everyone is born innocent. But it is our influences throughout our life that determine our path. Now, not only my generation, but even the generations still with us today, those who have come before me, still living in this world, I'm going to ask you, what legacy do we want to leave behind for the children of the next generation? What legacy do we want to leave for them? Is it going to be one of war, suffering, and instability? Or is it going to be one of honor, peace, and love? This is what I'm asking. Think about that. So again, this is something that's really been on my heart lately. And I hope that if even one person gets anything out of this at all, then that's worth it. So I say thank you to whoever does. God bless the United States. God bless America. God bless the world, and God bless its people. Thank you.